Okay, so this is just a quick narration of the strengths and weaknesses for your table. And I realize it is on its side, but it will not be for long. Okay, so for the quiz that we took, there were 32 questions about what did and did not constitute a family. So I did the tables for you, and I sorted them by the highest mean, which would mean the highest number of people that thought it was a family. The ratings were from 1 to 5. So 5 would obviously be everyone in the class thought that it was a family. So what constitutes a family? Is it order and stability? Is it a centralized function or structure? FX means functional, SX means structural. So there's one theory that's called the developmental perspective, and that is the change over time. That looks at how people's roles change as time changes. So whether a parent's role changes as the child gets older, or the parent's role changes, or I'm sorry, the child's role changes as the parents get older. Those are examples of developmental perspectives. There's another theoretical perspective called the social exchange theory, and that is costs and benefits driven. Then we also have Yuri Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory, and that has 3 different levels. That's the micro, the meso, and the macro. And that is the one that has latent effects, so unintended effects, and that is within the meso system, or meso levels, sorry. The factors that impact. So the ecological does a great job of taking into account all of the different factors. However, if you don't know all of the factors, then you really can't get a concrete view, and that is one of the weaknesses of it. Another theory, another perspective is, okay, so we're just going to go back a little bit. Wait, let me just go back this way. There we go, right here. Okay. And then we're going to add big again. Here we go. So this is about the different factors that impact, and we talked about this as Yuri Bronfenbrenner's macro and micro, or meso, also ecological, and that's a group that adapts and reorganizes in response to changing environments, so that everything's in flux. Okay, blah blah blah. Okay. So the Symbolic Interactionist is a group, like others, whose interactions are governed by the communication of knowledge, beliefs, attitudes, values, and roles. So how do family members perceive and explain reality? How is right and wrong behavior defined and interpreted? How is it reinforced or discouraged? Okay, I wanted to... So we talked about... It's not going. Oh, it's paused. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so symbolic interaction perspective is sometimes called interactionism. And it looks for the subjective or the interpersonal meanings of how we communicate using symbols and gestures, pictures. One of the most important shared meanings of the definition meanings is the definition of the situation or the way in which we perceive reality, and everyone perceives it differently. For a symbolic interactionist, a father's batting practice with his daughter isn't simply batting practice. It's a behavior that conveys messages such as, I enjoy spending time with you, and girls can be good baseball players. So it's a lot about implied. And as you know, anytime you're going to imply something, people are going to get different implications just based on their own background and their own experiences. And that goes back to Yuri Bronfenbrenner's Ecological. So for one of the most important shared meanings is about significant others. We typically learn our definitions of the situation through interaction with significant others, people in our primary groups, such as our parents, close friends, relatives, and teachers who play out important roles in our socialization. So that's what significant others is defined as in this text. So one of the examples that she gave was drug use in the neighborhood, and that could be, if you look at that from an ecological point of view, then you're looking at how the schools impact that and how different children's family structures will impact that, and how having a single parent versus a non-single parent household, or how the different levels of education are going to impact that. So there's a lot of different factors that would make that that question up. And if you were an ecological point theorist, you would be looking at all of these factors. And what one of the main criticisms is if you can't figure out all of those factors, then your analysis is going to be inherently flawed, basically, because you're not taking into account everything that your theory says is important. So, and that can be time consuming and expensive.